Very good. Maybe just go down the line and share what you're doing nutrient-wise, like at your planter, all your organics, maybe a little more limited, but share maybe some tillage and nutrient practices that you've maybe learned or adapted. If you have changed anything or kind of what you do for nutrient management.
Yeah, our organic fields run a 3-year rotation: corn, soybean, and wheat. And so we utilize a high-speed disc. Really like that, and it works great with a drip system because you only work in it 3-4 inches deep. On our planter, we're not running hardly much fertility at all. Plant about May 15th, start targeting corn, and follow up with beans, so the ground's already warming up. So nitrogen starter, you just can't use a UAN product in organics. So we use a lot of carbon-based. We use the Red products over here. That's our starter fertility program: micronutrients and carbon, fulvic, humic acids. So we're just really limited in our organic system what you can do. Feeding the biology is really, really important. And one thing about biology is that you need to have moisture to keep the biology going. So a drip system or any type of irrigation system helps keep that biology going all year long. So that really helps as well.
Okay, we're not organic, so we can run UAN. We run anhydrous, sometimes we don't. This year we're trying some different things. Anhydrous won't get into our tapes. We're at 12 inches. We haven't had a problem with it. We run it crossways, however. This year we didn't put anhydrous on except on our borders, which are dry. We decided we put a little bit more 28 on with the planter. We don't have a side dress rig, so the rest of the got pumped through the tape. I'm a little less. Last year I think I ran 21 or 23 different applications of nitrogen through the tape. I went to just dribble it out there where the plant's just taking up water anyway. This year I'm a little less than that, but mostly 28 ammonium thiosulfate. I can run zinc. I run some of Glenn's liquid humates in. So I'm adding some carbon in, just different products like that. Some micros get tied up when they get into the soil, so some things I'm still pushing through foliar. I haven't found a calcium product that I like, that I trust running through the drip yet, but they're out there. Brad's probably got one. But there's some things, you have to jar test things, you get used to it. You don't want to plug up your emitters because then you just create a problem.
Yes, we do a strip till, use all 28. We don't use any anhydrous or dry, but we put in a strip till and 28 and sulfur, and then we come back and salt. Ours is 12 inches deep, so we're running about 8 inches deep to 6 to 8 inches deep with a strip till, putting it down. And then we come back to the plant and add another 25 gallon of 1917 12S and through the planter and side by 2 by 2, and then actually both sides 2 by 2 by 2, and then we run a 622-1 with a little bit of sulfur, just minor sulfur, and with a zinc and biological and a liquid capture, and put that through infertile. And so then we run. Come back and side dress, like a wide route side dress, and come back and run another 20 gallon on there. Then we start tissue testing. We put 28 through the irrigation, and every 2 weeks we pull a sample, send it in, and about every 2 weeks we're injecting 28 through the system. Also micros, whatever that calls for, the fish testing back, so we need zinc, we need boron, or whatever, we add that to it. Send it right through. It's just as simple as putting it in a little tote up there and firing up the injection system.
I'm very similar to you. Actually, I also 1917 2 by 2 by 2 with some sulfur with the planter. Also some insecticide, DGR, and tempered grow. So that's what the planter. My P&K is broadcast variable. Come back and side dress with 28 and sulfur. Sometimes we'll do boron, depending. And strips, so I am supplementing. This year I supplemented, based on a tissue test, I supplemented with boron and some manganese, and doing a little bit of foliar applications also, depending on what the tissue temp will say. So also for about 7 years now, I've been doing strip intercropping where I have 6 rows of corn, 6 rows of soybeans across the field in strips. And I've seen just with that alone, I saw about a 40 bushel gain on my corn yields. Everyone asks, well, how are your beans doing? And what I've noticed is that most years they're about the same as a monocrop field of beans. Last year they were down about maybe a bushel and a half in my strips. So they do take a little bit of a hit. But when I put my drip tape in, I put it on 30-inch centers, and I specifically did that so it will line up with my corn rows. And since I'm strip tilling or no tilling, I can go right over the same tape every year. And I really feel there's a really big benefit to that as far as putting those nutrients right at the base of the plant. So I think it's a really good thing. Yeah, I really like the strip intercropping a lot. I don't farm a lot of ground, so it allows me to do that. If I farm more ground, I think it's more difficult. I think from what I'm seeing, from a labor standpoint, 400 or 500 acres is about as much as I want to do it right now.
Very good. I want to pick on Bill just a little bit. So Bill's part of a group, and Tim's going to get into a little more detail on that, where Netafin has put together a focus group, basically, where we're looking at raising yield levels, and the group, Tim will talk about it. It's called 350-150. So basically, the goal is 350 bushel corn and 150 bushel beans. So Bill, if you'd share just a little bit what you've learned in that group, and some of the things you've seen and learned, and things you're changing because of that.
So one of the things that we changed this year is we went away from anhydrous in these 2 dirt fields. We are focusing more on some of the biology. So Jason Schley with Next Level Ag, he does focus on the biology, and that's something that's different than what we're used to. It's always been NPK, conventional till. So we're trying some of these different things. There's some timing issues where you need nutrients at certain times more than you need them at other times. So we're trying to push calcium early. In certain growth stages, we're pushing potassium instead of nitrogen, and vice versa. There's some timing issues. We do take tissue tests about 6 times a year, so it's about every 2 weeks, usually in season, and then we take some soil tests 3 or 4 times a year to go with that, so we can see what's in the bank versus what our plant has, what we're lacking, what we're using. Something with the tissue test that I'm learning is that I can't take a tissue test. I don't feel like I can take a tissue test and immediately go out and apply it. I feel like I've got to plan for next year based on those tissue tests. I feel like I'm getting better results planning ahead. I've been doing this for a couple of years. We have a baseline. I know that at this stage, usually I'm lacking in these areas. So I have product, I apply it ahead of time, and I seem to be getting better results out of that instead of trying to chase tissue tests. But sometimes I still chase a little, but I try to make planned applications ahead of time. Depends on how well I am on the tissue test. So that's something that I'm doing differently. I'm just looking at all about NPK. I've moved a lot. I've moved my input money from those 3 categories and put them more into micros and biologicals.
Very good. Any other thoughts from Ron, Matt, or Joel on tissue sampling, things you've done, seen, or learned, or nutrients that you've struggled with? If that's something you've done or looked at. Ron, you want to start?
Yeah, one thing I think is when you start adding nitrogen, and that gets to be kind of a normal thing. But like you said, by the time you get a tissue sample back, it seems like on micros, you can't ever catch it. It may be sulfur and like manganese, you can make a difference and it'll show within about 4 or 5 days after you put it in. A lot of stuff you never see benefit, and it really never raises your tissue test either. It just stays there, so you're right about getting ahead. getting it in here with no insect, oh, I'm short this year, so next year I'm gonna add this to it. One other thing I found with putting in soybeans was we could raise about a 50 bushel crop of soybeans all on its own there, going pretty good. I raise 80 bushel beans with the water, but starting to inject 28 and sulfur and manganese into the system with soybeans about the time they start to put pods on really makes a big difference. And doesn't really change the height of the soybean that much, but it really adds pods, and the beans themselves are a lot bigger. And I think that's what you get a yield when the bean itself is bigger. So, yeah, a lot of things like that.
What kind of rates are you running on that?
You mean putting 28 in soybeans, about 10 pounds of soybean, I did maybe whatever, 2.5 gallons every 2 weeks. Not much.
And you're doing that all the way through?
No.
Just for a couple?
Just start when the beans are good flour, but then, and through pods till the bean is about developed in the pod. So you have a pretty good sized green bean in the pod, maybe 3 weeks before. And then run water later on, probably into middle of September. Making sure we still have water on adding to it.
Matt, any thoughts on tissue sampling?
Again, limited experience with the drip, but I actually have seen, I'm able to raise my boron levels by adding boron through the drip tape. I've actually seen my tissue samples come up a little bit. What I struggle with is what is adequate. I use anal at various times, and they send me a range, and I do off of that. But is that adequate for my soils? I don't really know. So that's what I'm working with now, is trying to figure out what's working. Some of my soils are very low in manganese, and I've been trying to build up the soil levels with manganese sulfate, and it just really isn't going up. And I have been able to build my boron levels with dry boron, but certain micronutrients, it just seems like sometimes a foliar application has been a good way of getting rid of that.
Does it seem like the plant uses it because it's going maybe why you can't raise the level? It's using everything you're putting on.
It could very well be, yeah, it could be using every bit of it. Now, obviously, when you do a foliar manganese on beans, they'll green up. You know, and I have seen yield gains if I leave test control strips. I've definitely seen the yield gain in a foliar. But what I experimented with this year was to try and put it through the drip tape and see if I can get it up into the plant also.
Any greenhouse experience that's relatable? Joel and I have a few things in common.
Yeah, so on our conventional acres, we've been using tissue samples for probably 10 years. Interesting to see the correlations, as the other men here have talked. Manganese is definitely one in our area that we really struggle with. I'm not convinced it's not partly impact to tie up from our herbicides. As we've taken chemical fields organic, we're starting to see levels now increase. So that's just kind of saying, just maybe be thinking about that somehow something is tying that up, I think. And I do think some universities are showing that it does tie up manganese. So we've seen that. We do the same, we put foliar on, manganese on. We usually do 2 shots. Some of our fields are really bad by the time the third trifoliate, they're really starting to show it. So we get 1 shot early, and we'll come back for a pod fill and get another shot with fungicide. Usually conventional or organic acres, we can still apply manganese sulfate. So we do that.